Okay, so you sent over some really significant sources this week. They all focus on that awful event in Vancouver yesterday, Saturday, April 26th, at the Lapu Lapu Day Festival.
Yeah, just devastating. A vehicle drove right into the crowd, people just there celebrating, and the outcome, 11 people confirmed dead, many, many more injured.
Right, and police arrested a 30-year-old man, a local.
They did, and importantly, the Vancouver police, they've said they are, quote, confident it wasn't terrorism.
Okay, they mentioned his history, mental health challenges.
Exactly. They cited a documented history there. So what we want to do, I think, is really dig into the sources you sent, understand what happened,
Yeah, definitely. Our goal here is to look at the festival itself, its significance, the broader picture of these kinds of vehicle incidents, which is frankly disturbing, and, well, the immediate aftermath.
Yeah.
The talk happening now.
Precisely. We need to look at the scene, understand Lapu Lapu Day, why it matters, and then, tackle this pattern of vehicle attacks. Canada, globally. It's a tough subject.
It is. And even with something so tragic, some surprising details come out, don't they? Like the history of Lapu Lapu Day itself is actually pretty fascinating when you dig into it.
True. And just how common these vehicle attacks have become. It's quite alarming when you see the examples laid out.
Okay, let's start with the event itself then. What did people actually see? What did the witness accounts tell us?
Well, the picture painted is a black Audi SUV. It was apparently moving very fast through the crowd, South Vancouver, right where the festival is happening.
Accounts are just,
Oh.
harrowing is the word. Chris Pangilinan, he had a booth there.
Right. He gave a really vivid and very disturbing description. Said the car came in slowly at first, seemed to get past a barricade somehow, and then just boom, accelerated incredibly fast. He compared the sound to an F1 car.
Wow, that suddenness.
Yeah.
Just unimaginable.
And the impact. Well, you can guess.
Yeah.
Pangilinan described seeing people thrown, into the air, higher than the food trucks nearby, he said.
Okay.
Yeah. He used this chilling comparison, like a bowling ball hitting pins, just scattering them.
Awful. And there was another witness, James Cruzat, a local business owner.
Yes, he mentioned hearing this loud engine revving, really loud, then a huge bang. Thought it was maybe a gunshot at first.
Understandable in that chaos.
Then he saw it all. The crying, people running everywhere, shouting for help, and then the bodies on the ground. Some injured, some not moving. Just pure chaos.
And it's significant, isn't it, that bystanders actually stopped the suspect initially?
It is. That's a key detail. Ordinary people there at the festival apprehended him first.
Before police got there.
Seems so. There was video circulating pretty quickly on social media, apparently. Showed a young guy, black hoodie, up against a fence, surrounded by people, understandably screaming, angry. A security guard was there, too.
That immediate community response, it's powerful, even in shock.
Definitely. And there's this one detail, just utterly heartbreaking. Brings it all home. One of the injured, taken to hospital. He was later identified by his wedding ring. It was found in a pill bottle he had.
Oh, man. That just hits hard. Such a small, personal thing.
It really underscores the individual tragedies within this horror. And the timing, we know it happened around 8:14 p.m. local time, Saturday evening.
Okay. Maybe we can shift gears a bit now. Talk about the festival itself. What is Lapu Lapu Day? Why was everyone gathered?
Right, so Lapu Lapu Day, the sources explain, it marks the anniversary of the Battle of Mactan. This was way back, 1521.
1521, wow.
Yeah, and it's seen as this pivotal moment where the local leader, the chieftain of Mactan Island, Lapu Lapu, he fought off and actually defeated Spanish forces, led by Ferdinand Magellan, no less.
So a major moment of resistance against, well, colonialism.
Absolutely. Lapu Lapu was a huge figure, a hero in the Philippines, stood up to invaders, defended his land. He embodies that pre-colonial spirit and strength.
And it's relatively new as an official day in BC, right? British Columbia only declared it last year, April 2023.
That's right. April 27th, officially Lapu Lapu Day in BC.
Oh, yeah.
Meant as a symbol, cultural harmony, mutual respect, recognizing the Filipino community's contributions.
It's interesting, though, you mentioned the sources say we don't actually know a huge amount about Lapu Lapu himself, historically speaking.
It's true. Most of what we know comes from Antonio Pigafetta. He was the Italian scholar traveling with Magellan, chronicling the voyage. Beyond his account, details are pretty scarce. Even the spelling, Lapu-Lapu, one word, was only officially standardized in the Philippines quite recently, 2021.
So the popular story, the one usually told, Magellan arrives, gets some local chiefs on his side.
Right, including arrival of Lapu-Lapus.
And the conflict starts because Lapu-Lapu refuses to pay tribute to Spain.
That's the common narrative. Magellan sails to Mactan with his forces and his local allies to basically force Lapu-Lapu into submission.
But it didn't go as planned for the Europeans.
Not at all. Their big ships, the ones with cannons, couldn't get close to shore, rocks, shallow water, so the battle happened on land.
And Lapu-Lapu's warriors, they had the advantage.
They did. Used traditional weapons, arrows, spears, that kind of thing. Overwhelmed the invaders. Magellan himself was killed in the fight.
That battle really looms large in Philippine history then, a symbol of early resistance.
Definitely. It's deeply ingrained in their national identity, an example of, pre-Hispanic courage and fighting prowess.
And this festival in Vancouver, this is the second one, second annual street celebration.
Correct. The organizers framed it as celebrating Filipino values, specifically bayanihan.
Bayanihan. What does that mean exactly?
It's a Tagalog word. Really captures that spirit of community effort, people working together for a common goal, helping each other out, celebrating together. It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah, sounds like it. And politicians attended the previous year, the premier.
Yeah, Premier David Eby, other officials were there in 2024, shows its importance locally, which just makes what happened this year, turning that celebration into tragedy, even more jarring.
It really does. Which, unfortunately leads us to the next difficult topic. These vehicle ramming attacks. This Vancouver incident. It's part of a bigger, very concerning picture.
It seems so. One source called it at least the fourth attack in 7 years, just in Canada, using vehicles as weapons against groups.
And the motivations seem all over the place. Terrorism, extremism, misogyny, and now potentially mental health issues.
Right. It's a wide range. And a 2018 study from the Mineta Transportation Institute, it made a really chilling point.
Which was?
Vehicles are just easily obtainable. And ramming doesn't take much prep or skill. That accessibility is terrifying.
Jennifer Magnus, the expert from Wilfrid Laurier University, she echoed that, didn't she?
She did. Said it's an effective tactic for someone determined to cause harm precisely because you don't need special training or weapons. A car is right there, readily available.
And the impact. Magnus highlighted it goes beyond the physical toll. Creates trauma, fear, shakes a community's whole sense of safety in public.
Absolutely. That Mineta study also pointed out a global trend. Increased frequency, increased lethality of these attacks by terrorist groups in recent decades.
And Canada hasn't been spared. We've seen it here.
Sadly, yes. Over the past 10 years, definitely. There was Quebec, February 2023. A man drove a city bus into a daycare.
Oh, I remember that. Horrific. 2 children killed.
6 others injured. In that case, evidence pointed to psychosis. Recommendation was for him not to be held criminally responsible.
Then London, Ontario, June 2021. The Muslim family.
Yes. 4 family members killed by a pickup truck. That was ruled an act of terrorism, driven by white nationalist hate.
And Toronto, April 2018, Yonge Street.
The van attack. A 25-year-old man killed 11 people, mostly women. Just devastating incidents, one after another.
And it's happening elsewhere, too. The sources mentioned Germany, a Christmas market.
Yeah, Magdeburg. December, likely 2024, given the timeline. 6 dead, including a child. Over 300 injured at a Christmas market attack.
And China, the sports center.
November, again likely 2024. Southern China. 35 people killed outside a sports center. Country's deadliest mass killing in years, apparently. It really shows this isn't isolated. It's a global issue.
It really is. So naturally, this leads to questions about security. What can be done? What is being done?
Well, there's definitely overlap with counterterrorism efforts, right? Physical barriers like bollards come up a lot.
Right, those metal posts you see sometimes.
Exactly. Plus, emergency planning, intelligence work, monitoring social media, it all plays a part. Cities have been installing bollards to try and protect public spaces.
But Magnus, the expert, she had reservations. Said they aren't foolproof.
Yeah, she pointed out some might not stop a really big, fast vehicle, and realistically, you just can't block every single access point everywhere. It's impossible.
That Reddit thread you included in the sources, it gives a raw look at the public reaction, doesn't it?
It really does. A snapshot of people trying to process it online. Lots of shock, horror, grief, as you'd expect.
And people immediately started comparing it to other attacks, talking about security measures elsewhere.
Yeah, bringing up things like removing trash bins in some cities or the bollards in London, UK after bombings there, people trying to find parallels, solutions.
There was specific talk about the barricades at the Vancouver Festival too, right? About them being removed.
Yes. Some users questioned the timing, asking if they were taken down too early while crowds were still large.
And there were reports the car got through a gap where a barricade was moved for dismantling the event.
That was mentioned, yeah. It raises serious questions about event safety protocols, managing entry and exit, especially during setup and takedown.
Definitely. Highlights how vulnerable these pedestrian events can be.
Yeah.
And people were suggesting other measures online.
They were. Things like portable blockades that are easier to deploy, maybe using big vehicles like dump trucks or trash trucks as temporary barriers, just brainstorming ways to protect crowds.
People also remembered other Canadian incidents, like Nathan Cirillo in Ottawa.
Right, the shooting at the War Memorial, and how security seemed to ramp up afterwards at some events. Big trucks blocking streets, that kind of thing.
The Reddit thread also had firsthand accounts, people who were there sharing online.
Yeah, witness reports popping up on social media. And there was mention of the suspect reportedly apologizing at the scene.
Which combined with the police mentioning mental health.
Exactly. It quickly led to online discussion and speculation about mental health being a major factor.
So people online were debating all sorts of possibilities. Accident, manslaughter, murder, hate crime, mental illness.
Pretty much the full spectrum as people tried to make sense of it in real time.
And the hospitals went to code orange.
Yes. Vancouver ERs declared a code orange. That's the protocol for a mass casualty event. Means they brace for a large number of seriously injured patients all at once.
We also saw the mayor, Ken Sim, making a statement, calling for mandatory care for people with severe mental health issues.
He did. That's a comment that's definitely going to generate more debate about mental health care systems and public safety. It's a complex intersection.
And the police chief, Adam Palmer.
Palmer.
Sorry, not Palmer. Chief Rye.
Yes, Chief Constable Adam Palmer was the previous chief. Fiona Wilson is the acting chief. Actually, the source mentions Chief Rye. Let's stick with that. His statement was pretty powerful, called it the darkest day in Vancouver's history.
A watershed moment, he said, likely leading to operational changes.
Right. But he also added a crucial caution, didn't want to create a police state or, quote, cage everybody up at every event.
Finding that balance, security versus freedom, it's incredibly difficult.
It really is. How do you protect people without fundamentally changing the way we live and gather?
Let's look at the academic angle for a moment. That PubMed Central article framed these attacks as a sort of new threat.
Yeah, relatively new in its prominence anyway. It stressed how easy vehicles are to use as weapons and the global rise in these attacks over the past decade or so.
Targeting soft targets, specifically, crowded pedestrian areas.
Exactly. Places that are easy to access, lots of people, potential for mass casualties, maximum fear, like festivals, markets, the very places that bring communities together.
And the article highlighted a shift from using vehicles to carry bombs, VBIEDs.
Right, vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices.
To using the vehicle as the weapon itself, like the NICE attack in 2016 being a key example.
Precisely. That really marked a turning point. The vehicle is the weapon, direct impact.
And chillingly, extremist groups have actually published guides suggesting where to attack.
Yeah. High pedestrian traffic, low vehicle traffic areas, places you can accelerate easily, narrow spots where escape is hard. It's calculated.
And existing security designs, often focused more on protecting buildings from bombs, not necessarily pedestrians from ramming.
That's a key point the article made. A lot of policy and design historically aimed at stopping VBIEDs near critical infrastructure, less focus on open pedestrian zones.
Which can lead to problems when new measures are put in quickly, like after the Westminster Bridge attack.
Exactly. The article mentioned barriers put up, then actually created narrower, potentially more dangerous choke points for pedestrians and cyclists in some spots. Unintended consequences.
It seems like pedestrian safety initiatives like Vision Zero or Complete Streets.
Yeah, aiming for slower traffic, safer walking and biking.
They haven't always been fully linked up with counterterrorism security thinking.
Right. They've often developed on separate tracks. The article argues for bringing them together more intentionally.
So, using things like bollards, planters, street furniture, not just for security, but as part of overall street design that calms traffic and makes things better for pedestrians anyway.
That's the idea. Integrating security into good urban design. Making spaces safer from attack and safer and more pleasant for everyday use. Cities are already doing some of this, using planters, benches strategically.
Surveillance tech also comes into play, the article notes. Crowd management, threat detection.
It does. But it also flags the need for more research on how all these security measures affect people. Accessibility, how pedestrians actually feel and move in these spaces.
It's got to be about finding that balance again. Security, yes, but also openness, vibrancy.
Absolutely. The challenge is securing public space without killing its public character. Making it feel like a fortress isn't the goal. It requires really thoughtful, integrated design.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, pulling together the threads from the sources you sent, it's a lot. We've covered the awful tragedy at the Lapulo Day Festival, a celebration turned horrific.
Yeah, a stark reminder of how quickly things can change. And we've had to place it in that broader, disturbing context of vehicle attacks, globally and here in Canada, recognizing it as a tactic, sadly, with various motivations behind it.
We looked at the immediate aftermath, the community reaction, the official responses, the police assessment focusing on mental health, the mayor's call for action.
And the ongoing, really complex debate about security, how to protect people at public gatherings without sacrificing the openness we value, that balancing act.
And it's crucial to reiterate the police assessment for now.
Yeah.
Not terrorism, likely linked to mental health. But as you said, the impact.
Yeah.
Devastating, regardless of motive.
Profoundly so. For the victims, their families, the entire community. That contrast, celebration to devastation, it's just incredibly stark and painful.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a final thought to mull over. Considering how easily vehicles can be weaponized, but also how much we need open public spaces. What are the best ways forward? What are the most effective, least disruptive strategies for communities, for authorities, to prevent this kind of horror again while keeping our cities vibrant and accessible?
And maybe digging a bit deeper. What responsibility falls on each of us? Individuals, communities, governments. How do we tackle both the immediate security needs and the complex, often hidden challenges around mental health that might, in some cases, be a contributing factor? It's a heavy question with no simple answer.